All right. Actually, we're going to give it a moment. Commissioner Silverman will be here momentarily and we'll get the roll call and we will begin. I apologize for getting us started a little earlier. I failed to look to my right and see that we're missing a commissioner.
We have a quorum.
We do. Well, I'd hate to have you the roll call and not have Commissioner Silverman on the attendee list. So we will hold. So feel free to talk while we wait.
Okay.
All right. Manager McGill, will you please do the roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Grella. Here. Commissioner Ranny.
Here.
Commissioner Silverman.
Here.
Commissioner Swager Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Flynn.
Present. Thank you. We will start this evening with a lovely ceremony. I'm going to introduce the Honorable Blaise Laratonda to swear in our new commissioner.
Thank you.
Have to come down there.
Please, whatever you want.
I have to tell an interesting story about this. Many years ago, I flew an interview. And this one here, the tiger is being slaughtered. But I have to thank her because if I would have got that promotion, I might have stayed with the police department. Not only would have been cheap, right? But she put me into a direction, as you all know, being with the community ordinance services unit and then a magistrate that I would have never had if you wouldn't have totally wrapped me out of the interview. I think. No, I'm telling you, it was the best thing I could ever. Best. And I love it.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right, you want to come around with your and your lovely wife? I want you to raise your right hand. Repeat after me, please. I, Ann Swager Wilson,
I, Ann Swager Wilson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws and ordinances of Mount Lebanon, PA,
the laws and ordinances of Mount Lebanon, PA,
and obey all policies pertaining to
and obey all policies pertaining to
and governing my function as commissioner.
and governing my function as commissioner.
Furthermore,
Furthermore,
I will well and faithfully discharge
I will well and faithfully discharge
and perform all the duties of my office
perform all the duties of my office
according to the best of my knowledge.
according to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, great story. Okay, I'm done. You can all start.
Well, thank you as always, Blaise. We do appreciate
Yes.
everything that you do for the community. And congratulations, Commissioner Swager Wilson.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I will turn to Manager McGill for a summary of the discussion session.
Thank you, Mr. President. Prior to this meeting, the commission met in discussion session and we heard a continued discussion regarding the municipal board realignment. We'll have more information available on that very shortly. And we also heard an overview of the recently completed accreditation process for the MLPD. And again, as I did in discussion session, I just wanted to again, recognize the men and women of the police department, both Deputy Chief Petrus and Deputy Chief Haberman and Corporal Kite, for their extensive work to be able to receive this accreditation. They will get the official accreditation this coming week, Thursday in Harrisburg. But I think it's a testament, again, to the police department's commitment to setting standards and reaching those goals repeatedly. So thank you for that effort. Prior to discussion session, the commission met in executive session to receive legal advice from the solicitor on a variety of topics. The next commission meeting of the commission will be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. That meeting will begin at 8 p.m. Here are the ways the public can participate, either in person, as you are tonight. You don't need to pre-register, simply show up at the appropriate meeting time, or remotely via the Zoom webinar format. Again, you don't need to pre-register, simply click the link located on the meeting agenda on the municipal website. And if you wish to speak during the citizens' comments or during public hearings, simply use the raised hand feature on Zoom and you'll be notified when it is your turn to speak. That is all I have.
Thank you, Manager McGill. Next up, we will defer to Commissioner Silverman for community highlights.
Thank you, Mr. President. Due to the continuing work on the Vibrant Uptown project, the Halloween Pumpkin Patch Parade is canceled this year. However, celebrate Halloween this year at Trunks, Tents, and Treats this Saturday from 10 to noon in the Commissioner's Lot. That's the parking lot across from Stadium Drive from the high school. We'll have the Mount Lebanon School Marching Band, cheerleaders, candy, costume contest, music, and lots of fun for the family. Trick or treat is still scheduled for 6 to 8 p.m. on Monday, October 31st. The 2023 manager's recommended budget will be released to the public on Tuesday, November 1st. It will be available online at mountlebanon.org and will also be available to view in the municipal building and at the public library. The first budget workshop will be Monday, November 7th, starting at 6 p.m. with the first public hearing on Tuesday, November 8th at 8 p.m. The second budget workshop is Saturday, November 12th at 10. Third budget workshop is Thursday, December 1st at 6 p.m. And then the final budget workshop is Monday, December 5th at 6 p.m. The final budget hearing and the adoption of the budget is scheduled for Tuesday, December 13th at 8 p.m. All meetings are in person at 710 Washington Road and on Zoom. Those links are available at mountlebanon.org. The public can comment during the public hearings, but not at the workshops. We look forward to your comments as we embark upon this important process. Here's a reminder, you cannot place any signs in the public right of way, including intersections, parks, and traffic islands. This includes election and affinity signs. Please place signs on private property with permission, of course. Additionally, tampering with anybody else's signs is a crime. Please respect the property of others. The general election is Tuesday, November 8th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. To find your polling place, go to mountlebanon.org and look under trending now. And finally, please participate in the comprehensive planning process as we set the course for the next 10 years. Our website is at ascendlevo, ASCENDLEVO.com. It includes a new survey, interactive map for you to share your thoughts. Please bookmark it and check back as it will include other opportunities for input over the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Silverman. Next up, we have our Junior Commissioner, Amy Tan.
Good evening. Today's update on high school activities is very short, but also very exciting. Thanks to the Student Council's efforts, the Deli and Soup Bar are set to return on December 1st of this year. Next, I would like to continue with updates on outreach to the high school. This past week, Mr. McMeans and Ms. Lilly set up a meeting with other junior board members in order to discuss ways that we can increase engagement with the below 25 demographic. We came up with a few ideas. A lot of students gather at the same time for lunch in center court, so it is a great opportunity to share information. On the balcony area, there are often hand-painted banners hung up to announce upcoming events. Since the idea of a student announcement broadcast was initially unsuccessful, we discussed the possibility of hanging up a banner instead to promote important community information such as the Ascend Lebo survey. Additionally, during lunch periods, many organizations set up tables outside of the library in the high school. We also looked into the possibility of setting up a table to inform students about the Ascend Lebo survey. In order to incentivize students to participate, we were looking into having free buttons, food, or something of the sort. In-person communication can be very effective, so we were considering reaching out to some teachers in the social studies department to see if they were willing to invite a speaker from the municipality. It would be a great way to spread word about the Ascend Lebo survey, as well as to introduce students to local government. Lastly, Ms. Lilly introduced the idea of having a signature phrase for Mount Lebanon, something that might help with the branding of the community. She also proposed the idea of having a catchphrase suggestion competition that is open to the community, which would be something that is very appealing to the below 25 demographic. With that, this concludes my report for October 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tan. Really appreciate it. And that is fantastic. I'm glad to hear that that is a successful effort moving forward. I know throughout my life, having worked around this space, engaging the under 25 demographic is always a challenge. And the fact that you guys are picking that up and trying to push it forward and finding ways to engage is fabulous. It's really important and we do appreciate it.
I just have one question for the group of people who met. Did any of them express confusion with the Ascend Lebo survey?
So during the meeting, we saw some of the posters for the Ascend Lebo survey, and we think they look good, but there could be ways to make the description of the survey more digestible, because on the posters, it says mapping out Lebo for the next 10 years, connecting the historical society with the future. These are all very abstract ideas. So a lot of people don't engage with the survey because they don't know what it's really about. So some junior board members brought that up, and they were also looking into ways to make it more accessible and understandable. But as to the actual survey contents, none of the junior board members were confused.
Okay, thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, next up, we have citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for any resident to express an opinion on any topic pertaining to local government. The commission enjoys hearing from the public on various issues and learning about items to address in the future. If you have specific questions, we will try and answer them at the end of your comments. If we can't, we commit to getting you the answers as soon as possible. When I call your name, please come to the podium to address the commission. State your name and address for the record. In fairness, we ask each speaker to share their thoughts for 5 minutes. The community is as good as each person in the room. We work together to make this a community that we can all be proud of, and we hope that the dialogue remains respectful. We also appreciate the audience's efforts to refrain from any behavior that is disruptive or might intimidate free speech. And with that, I will welcome our first speaker, Dr. Hoon.
Bill Hoon, 456 Coolidge Avenue. A former Russian diplomat who is no longer in Russia recently stated that Putin will sacrifice 20 million Russians to achieve his goals in Ukraine. That's a rather striking figure, and that's not just something he pulled out of his hat. The Russians lost 25 million fighting World War II. Rather striking. What he's talking about is the genocide of Ukraine. And the figures there go up quite a bit because there's about 40 million Ukrainians left in Ukraine itself. Now, your goal is the genocide of every deer that bothers to step into this township. You know, deer go back and forth, back and forth. That's why you'll never commit the genocide of the deer that managed to come into Mount Lebanon. Won't happen. But you'll spend an awful lot of money, our money, trying to do just that, won't you? Well, you know that we've been going through this crap since 2006. All the arguments started in 2004. All garbage. Never any evidence provided, which ticks a lot of people off. Because what it amounts to is you guys are a rogue operation. You're doing what you want up here, providing no basis for any of it. That ticks people off. They're a bit angry. And they're also angry at you stealing from them, taking funds from them, tax dollars, to fund the operation. That makes people mad, okay? That's like reaching into my wallet and taking what you want. Okay. No proof, continuing action. Apparently, it will go on forever. Isn't that right, guys? We're going to do this forever. We're going to kill deer forever if they dare step into Mount Lebanon. How dare you? What makes you all gods? Anybody want to answer that? You're not. Okay, our last meeting, some folks came up with an idea. They want to know what we have to do to get out of Mount Lebanon. Fifth Ward would like to just go off on its own and skip all this nonsense of having to deal with you folks. What do we have to do? Keith, you have an answer for that?
Respectfully, it's citizens' comments, Dr. Hoon. And if Commission President directs me to provide a response, I'll be happy to do that.
Well, this was a question that was raised by a resident. We would love to know what we have to do to separate part of Mount Lebanon from Mount Lebanon. Is there a reason that Mount Lebanon has to continue to exist in its present form? Because, you know, we don't see any future here. We really don't. You think putting in work out here in the street and everybody should be happy. Really? Have you taken a walk down these sidewalks? I don't think you guys even pay attention to what you've done. There's so much slanting out there that there are some people running in the streets so they don't get hip injuries. So let's get back to what can we do to get out of here? You know, if we leave, we won't care what you do. You can screw it up any way you want. We're not happy. We're not getting anywhere. We've been ignored forever. What do we have to do? Andy?
I would first appreciate if you address me as Commissioner Flynn.
Commissioner Flynn.
I respect you as Dr. Hoon. You can respect me as Commissioner Flynn. Second, you know, if you would stay more often, you would actually hear that the Parks Board gave a presentation regarding why they support the deer call, but you don't stay.
That's right.
So in which case, you don't want to hear the reasons. You want to continue to make your position heard, which I respect. But if you want to try to figure out how to conceptually secede, I would suggest talking to an attorney, maybe looking at the Home Rule Charter, looking at state statutes as to how that's done. But that's up to you as a citizen to pursue that. But just coming and yelling at us without actually looking at the broader dialogues about why we do what we do and the decisions we make, it's disrespectful. I've been listening to it for 3 years now. You don't bring any arguments, new arguments. You just keep saying the same things over and over again, which is fine. That's your right, and I respect that. But it's not bringing additional dialogue as to how we might actually change, you know, the decisions we're making to improve the community, given your perspective, which we would appreciate.
The people that I am with have been ignored since 2004. We had this room out in the lobby area down the street.
I respect that, but the decision at the time was made. And the argument hasn't changed since. Right? This is a democracy, right? And
Well, one would
we all
think.
get a vote, and that's the process we go through. And until there is consensus that changes the position where we're at, this is the position we have. So, again, we can always do a dialogue offline as to how that might be changed. But I think there's a lot of argument that has been brought forward to commission over and over again about why we do what we do around here. You might disagree with it, but that's the position, given all of the evidence that's been provided today. And until that changes, or there's some, evidence that would shift that decision, this is where the current commission stands.
Well, yeah, people are leaving because of the decision of the current commission.
And people come.
I have a neighbor that just had a baby. I told her what the commission's doing. She was not impressed. Eventually she hopes the kid will grow up to a certain age. And she doesn't want to expect to have that kid possibly shot at or have an arrow fired at him. I don't know if you can appreciate that. I know you have children.
Dr. Boone, we can always talk offline. This is a broader set of comments. I appreciate your time.
Good talk.
Next up, we have Dave Lackner. Good evening, Mr. Lackner.
Good. I am Dave Lochner at 729 Brafferton Drive. Thank you very much. At the last meeting, I provided all of you a letter. And I had a couple questions that were contained in that letter. And that's pretty much the focus of what I want to discuss tonight. Line item 2 on my second page discussed people of all income levels should be able to live in Mount Lebanon. So my question is, what group is not currently being represented?
I would just echo Commissioner Flynn's comments. We can respond to you after this. I would encourage you to ask your questions and we'll get together and respond afterward. I did
Okay.
call you actually last week. I'm not sure if you called back.
No, I didn't. I kind of felt that it would be best to discuss those types of matters in the public session. So that was my primary reason for not calling back. Okay, so my second question was Mount Lebanon should offer a diverse. Well, the comment was Mount Lebanon should offer a diverse range of housing options for people of all stages of their lives. So what housing options aren't being represented? Any redevelopment or residential should result in an equal or greater number of housing units that were there previously. So there's primarily the three questions I was hoping to get answered tonight. Anybody want to take that?
Yeah, how do you want
Well, I think that this, I would just reiterate, at a baseline that these are questions that the consultant framed to ask the questions of residents in order to elicit feedback to help develop the comprehensive plan. Whether there are all the housing represented or not, I don't think that's the position of the commission at this point. We're asking, the consultants are asking the question, to understand the residents' opinions on those positions. Again, we're trying to elicit, engagement to understand where citizens are in this process so that we can be developing the comprehensive plan as robustly as possible, given everybody's input.
So let's focus just on the one question about people of all income levels should be able to live in Mount Lebanon. Clearly, if you had hired socialpinpoint.com to put together this analysis or this questionnaire, clearly somewhere along the lines between socialpinpoint.com and the 5 commissioners, somebody within that group must have thought that some income level isn't being represented. So I think it's just a fair question, there's some income level that isn't being represented in Mount Lebanon between social pinpoints, content of what they put together and the 5 commissioners. Surely somebody can answer that question.
I'm gonna ask the commission president if he would like Mr. McMeans, who's actually our assistant manager and planner and in charge of the comprehensive plan updates, to clarify a few things. One, Social Pinpoint is the software we're using. They had nothing to do with development of the questions, but I'll let Mr. McMeans speak to that issue.
Please.
Yes.
Okay, so for starters, Mr. Beal is correct. Social Pinpoint is the software we're using to collect the responses. So, when we were reviewing softwares to use for the survey, we looked at SurveyMonkey, we looked at a couple other ones. But so our prime consultant on the project is Patrick MTR, which is a local firm. Their offices are on the north side. They're nationally known for their planning expertise. We also have Yarden Company, who is working on the public engagement portion of the process, and WSP, a nationally known traffic and mobility consultant. So those are the 3 prime consultants on the plan. Social Pinpoint is just the software we're using to collect the information. Social Pinpoint has no input at all in the process as a firm or anything. It would be like saying we posted an article on Twitter, but we're not. Twitter has no input on anything. We're just using it as the forum to gather information. So yeah, Social Pinpoint is just the tool we're using to gather information. Secondly, all of the questions that are in this survey that's out now came from responses that we saw through the initial survey that was put out that just asked the 2 simple questions of, what do you like most about Mount Lebanon and what would you like to see change? So the responses we got on those questions that we wanted to kind of test more of and see where the community fell on certain things were things that we kind of looped into this survey to kind of start testing some of those ideas. So for example, Mr. Lackner, you asked about what types of housing are represented. One of the things that we saw a lot of comments on the first survey was housing for seniors. We wish there was more housing for seniors. There's not enough accessible housing for seniors. So that kind of led us into that question on this survey. There was a lot of responses on the first survey related to this sort of economic barrier to entry into Mount Lebanon, that there is a high cost of housing, that some people did specifically mention that they wish that there was more housing availability for people of different income levels, from seniors on fixed incomes all the way to first-time home buyers, people looking to rent, things like that. So that's kind of what led to that question, that we had a variety of responses. And right now what we're doing in the survey is testing ideas, right? The questions that Mr. Lochner is talking about are on a scale of strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. And the idea is that we heard these things back in the initial survey, and we want to test them with the public to see if they are popular or not popular, so if they should even play a factor in the plan moving forward. So this is an 18-month planning process. We're in about month 5 of it. Our goal is to have an end plan by the end of 2023. And right now we're kind of testing some of these initial ideas that we've heard, and that is sort of the process we're using, is this sort of continuous feedback loop of, okay, we heard this from people, let's see how people feel about it. Okay, we heard this, now let's go back to the public and see how they feel about it. We did kind of flip the normal planning process on its head, but that's a whole nother discussion for another time. I won't take up too much time. If anybody has any additional questions, I'm happy to answer.
So I do have one more question to ask is, obviously I had some concerns that this wasn't being properly communicated, the survey, to the rest of the community. So on Monday, somebody called me out of the blue and said, hey, I just happened to see the survey in the St. Anne's Bulletin. So I'm wondering, what other medias since the last meeting have you added to communicate the survey to the rest of Mount Lebanon residents?
Please.
So a few weeks ago, it was before the last commission meeting, but I had, as I mentioned, I think 2 meetings ago, that we were kind of doing a slow rollout of the Ascent Levo site, that we kind of launched it online. We promoted it on social media. Then we went to the homecoming football game. We were handing out business cards for the plan. There's a whole stack of business cards in the back. If anyone would like to grab some, hand them out to your friends. We encourage them to take the survey because we want as many responses as possible. And that, we've been slowly reaching out to more people, right? So, once we kind of decided on the branding, it took some time to get some materials developed, but I also sent out an email to all of the schools, churches, some other business owners, organizations within the community, to say, hey, here's what we're doing, here's the planning process, here's a little blurb if you want to use it in your newsletter. Some, I guess, St. Anne's chose to use it, which is awesome. That's great. Some others may have, some others may not have, but I tried to reach out to all of our, organizations within the community to say, hey, we're going through this process. And here's a little blurb you can use to promote it if you would like to. And I even reached out to not just like Mount Lebanon School District, obviously, but Keystone Oaks, our high schools in our community, Seton LaSalle's high schools in our community, the Mount Lebanon Montessori schools in our community, and a whole bunch of other ones, in the community as well, to try and get information out.
So at this point, you're not inclined to mail it to the Mount Lebanon residents, like put a mailer, like a flyer, like I had asked.
Nice.
There's been stuff in the Mount Lebanon magazine, which does email to every household.
Right, but we know that on the last two editions of Mount Lebanon magazine, it wasn't in the magazine.
There was an entire edition on the comprehensive plan, just was to it.
Okay, no, I get two of the ones I must have missed that. So one last question, how is Yardi involved?
Yarden Company?
Yeah.
They are, they were the ones that came up with the branding for the project, and they're kind of one of the advisors on some of the ideas that we may use for public engagement throughout the whole process.
Okay. And that was a total of about $126,000 spent on that?
That's the entire project, budget, yes.
Okay. Right, I'm all done.
Thank you, Mr. Lackner. Nick, are there any comments online?
Yes.
Sorry, I'd like to thank the planner really quick for all the additional outreach that you did. Thank you for that hard work.
All right, go ahead, Nick.
Okay, we do have one. Hold on one second. Rob, good evening. Please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes for your comments. You will hear a tone when your time is concluded.
Hello, Rob Mackey, 610 Royce Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I didn't intend to call in, but so this is more off the cuff. Last meeting, I did make a statement on behalf of the Parks Advisory Board in support of the deer management program. That statement's already in the record, so I won't restate it. Just anecdotally, one just has to walk through Twin Hills Park to see the one of the reasons why we support deer management. Trees that have been planted in the park through restoration efforts are destroyed by deer, thousands of dollars, hundreds of man hours. We now cage trees in 6-foot tall steel wire cages with metal posts in order to protect them from deer. You can walk through Twin Hills near the Carriage Park entrance and see how well those trees are doing. Look all around, you will not see any young trees that are unprotected doing well. Only the trees that are protected from deer survive. That is why we support deer management. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Appreciate your time. Nick, any others?
No, that was the last one.
All right, we will conclude public comment and we will move on to item number 4. Commissioner Silverman, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of minutes from the regular meeting held October 11th, 2022, and the special meeting held October 17th, 2022. I move to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain because I was absent.
We have one abstention. All right, item motion carries. Item number 5, Commissioner Grella, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public hearing on ordinance bill number 5-22, amending the penalty for violations in chapter X or 10, part 12 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances. Mount Lebanon amends fees annually through a fee resolution. There are some fees that need to be amended through ordinance. This ordinance amends violations in chapter X, 10, part 12 of the Municipal Code and adds further clarification for payment methods when parked at a metered space. The primary violation amounts that will be charged are related to parking violations. Primary parking violations such as expired meters and overnight parking will increase by $5 beginning January 1, 2023. This ordinance was introduced October 11, 2022.
Thank you, Commissioner Grillo. We will conduct the public hearing. We don't have anybody on the sign-in. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on the topic?
Wanted to ask the finance director to provide.
Our finance director, Mr. McCreary.
Finance Director Andrew McCreary here, reporting for duty. I have 3 items to discuss this evening for the parking rate for parking tickets. The 3 points I wanted to make tonight, one is this got brought up in a parking facilities board meeting with our increased in the variable rate fee that we charge on Washington Road. One of the things we had an oversight when we were talking about raising the rate is that when we did it during the budget process in 2021 for 2022, the now 3rd hour, if you park 3 hours on Washington Road or in the Alfred lot, so on and so forth, it's actually cheaper to park and pay the parking ticket at $10 than it is to pay the $11 to park there. So it's kind of defeating the purpose. Yes, it is defeating the purpose. That's why I waited till October to tell anybody. There's probably other people that have noticed, but that's what promulgated us to say, hey, we probably need to do something about the parking ticket fee. The second thing is the rates have not been increased since 2011. So in 2011, they went from $6 to $10 for a expired meter permit. All other parking violations, including overnight parking, parking too close to a stop sign or to a corner, park too far away from a curb, those types of things went from $15 to $20. Okay, that all happened in 2011. So it's been 11 years. It's been a long time since we've raised any of these rates. The third point I'd like to make is that the staff recognizes that a $5 increase is significant. It's not, we're not minimizing that. But right now, for tickets being paid, 80% of our tickets are paid online. Currently, there is a $3 convenience fee that's passed on to the customer that we don't see. So they're already paying $13 or for a standard $20 ticket, $23 already, those that receive the ticket. Our recommendation as a staff is to start eating that fee or to have that expense to eliminate the barrier to payment. So we did this in recreation to where we used to charge a cart fee on top of whatever you did. We raised some fees and then started to, I call it eating, but absorb the fees. Here it's a flat $3 charge per ticket. So really we'll be seeing a $2 increase per ticket paid for those ticket violations. So we feel that that's a good compromise. People were already paying $13. This is really just a recognition of the enforcement is the threat of enforcement. We want you to move on the street. We don't really want to give you a ticket. We'd rather have people turning over in the spots. So for those 3 reasons, we're recommending the fee increase for both the standard expired permit and all other or expired meter permit or meter tickets and those other parking tickets, a $5 increase. That's what we're recommending for 2023.
Thank you, Mr. McCreary. Are there questions?
Well, I hate those $3 online convenient fees, so I'm so glad you eliminated that. Thank you.
We hear it a lot. A lot of people say, I'd read, it's inconvenience to me. I'd rather come in and pay you just the principle of the matter. That was something that the rec director, David Denellen, mentioned was they used to have a $2 cart fee.
Oh, yeah, I heard all about it.
Yeah, and so when they eliminated that, I think it just, we adjust the fee accordingly. That's what people want, and they want to pay online.
Yeah.
As evidenced, 80% right now are willing to pay that extra $3 just to not have to come in here and mail a check or even drop off cash. So.
Other questions?
Good work.
Nick, do we have any comments online?
None online.
All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing. And we will move on to item number 6 on the agenda. Commissioner Rani, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of ordinance bill number 4-22, increasing the stormwater fee and extending the effective date. Mount Lebanon currently assesses a storm sewer fee, which was established in 2011 and has not been increased. As a result of higher costs and an escalating increase in the demand for stormwater controls and facilities throughout the municipality, there is a need to increase the fee to a level needed to sustain the objectives of the stormwater fund. The proposed ordinance increases the fee 12.5% a year, beginning in January of 2024 for 5 years, after which time a consumer price index increase will apply. The proposed ordinance also extends the sunset provision in the original ordinance indefinitely. This ordinance was introduced September 28th, 2022, and the public hearing was held October 11th, 2022. I move to enact ordinance bill number 4-2022.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there questions or comments?
I have a comment. Can I get that exact number? Maybe McCreary again. What are we looking at for the average household? For, yeah, the annual stormwater fee currently, and then what would increase in 2024?
2024 would be a little over $1.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Per month,
Per month, correct. So $12 a year.
$12, yeah.
Correct. So the total fee would be what?
12 additional
$108 and change. Yeah, going up every year, 12.5%
Perfect.
till 2027.
Thanks.
All right, just for the record, to make sure everybody heard that, that's increasing at $1 a month to $12 a year for $108 in 2024, and then increasing at 12.5% for the next several years.
And just to reiterate that rate increase will not take effect until January of 2024.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7 on the agenda, Commissioner Swager Wilson.
Thank you, Commissioner Flynn. This is the introduction of ordinance bill number 622, amending the 2022 budget for revenue and expenditures not anticipated in the 2022 budget. You can see these changes. The screen is on your left if you're in the audience, and it's on my right. I recommend that we introduce ordinance bill number 6-22.
All right, we will set the public hearing for November 8th, 2022. Item number 8 on the agenda, Commissioner Silverman, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration for adoption of the concurrent resolution number R-22-22 for a 2023 CDBG grant application for ADA sidewalk ramp upgrades. A pre-application has been submitted to the Allegheny County Economic Development, ACED, for the 2023 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, project throughout the Southeast Area Council of Government, SHACOG. We possibly have any more initials in this. A full application with concurrent resolution must be submitted by November 10, 2022. The project will include installation of 9 handicap curb ramps at various locations in the municipality. Municipal engineers reviewed the document and recommends adoption of the resolution and transmitting it to SHACOG for transmission to ACED. I move to adopt the concurrent resolution number R-22-22 for the 2023 CDBG grant application for the ADA sidewalk ramp upgrade project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there questions or comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 9 on the agenda, Commissioner Grella.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of the expenditure list for September totaling $6,150,568.56. I move to approve the expenditure list for September totaling $6,150,568.56.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 10, Commissioner Ranney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the reports be received and filed.
Thank you, Commissioner Ranney. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.